why is this even useful to us? Why did we even convert our standard form quadratic expression into the vertex form or into the factorized form? Well, the vertex form, as the name suggests, it basically allows you to find out the vertex really quick, and it basically allows you to plot your graph really quick. So I'm going to draw my axes over here, and this is going to be my x-axis, that is going to be my y-axis. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that vertex form that we got from this process, which was basically this form right over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that form over here. So that's basically 2x plus 2 squared minus 3. Now remember, I was like, if we're either going to get a smiley face or a sad face out of our quadratic expression, and I was like, well, these smiley faces or these sad faces, they basically have three main points of interest. The first is the vertex, the second is the y-intercept. Now these two things, you're always going to have these two things. And then the third one is basically the roots. If you can find out these 3 points of interest, you can actually plot your smiley face or your sad face really easily. And I'm going to show you guys how we do that. So before we begin sketching or plotting our graph, we're just going to put this expression equal to y, because that's what we do when we're trying to sketch our quadratic expression. We put it equal to y. And the first question I ask myself is, am I going to get a smiley face or am I going to get a sad face? And I know that my a has a positive sign. Since it has no sign, it means it's positive. So I know I'm going to get a smiley face. Now remember, I'm trying to find my 3 points of interest. Now if I have a smiley face, obviously that smiley face is going to have this point right over here, which we call the vertex. And the vertex is the lowest point of the smiley face. It's the minima. So I'm trying to find this vertex. Now this is my question, right? These are all going to be these, I'm going to have some y value over here, then some y value over here, then some y value over here, and my y value for this vertex is going to be the lowest that is possible for this smiley face. This term right over here, this term that's away from this bracket, away from all of this business, this thing is basically going to be the y coordinate of your vertex. The vertex is going to have obviously an x coordinate and a y coordinate, so that y coordinate is just going to be -3. So this lonely term over here, the term which will be outside the bracket, that's going to be your y value of the vertex, and then all you got to do is you got to put this thing equal to 0, and you got to equate it. So this, you can just put this the bracket term x plus 2 equal to 0, solve it out, and you're going to get -2, and that's going to be your x coordinate of the vertex. Point -2 and -3. So that's the first point of interest. We found that out. It's the vertex. Now what we want to do is we can go ahead and find the y-intercept out. And the y-intercept is really easy to find. All you got to do is, you know that at the y-intercept, the x term is equal to 0, or the value of x is equal to 0. So all you got to do is you just got to put a 0 in place of x, and you just got to solve it out. You put a 0 in there, and that's just going to be 0 plus 2 squared minus 3. So that's just going to be 2 squared 4 times by 2. That's going to be 8 minus 3. That's going to be 5. So that right there is your y-intercept. Your y-intercept is going to have the value 0, because obviously x is 0 at y-intercept, and the y value is going to be 5. So you can already kind of imagine what your graph is going to look like. So this right here is where your vertex is going to be. Let's say that you have your -2 over here, so this is -2, and let's say this is your -3. So you can put a point over here. This is where your vertex is. This right here is your vertex, and then your y-intercept. Let's say this right here is 5. Somewhere over here is 5. So that right there is going to be your y-intercept. So now your graph is going to do something like this. It's basically going to, this is your smiley face. It's basically going to go up there, and it's going to cross the y-axis at y-intercept, something like that. And then for the other side, you can just draw the same thing. So it's going to look something, it's going to look something like this on the other side as well. Okay, that's a rough sketch. Obviously, it's not a perfect sketch, but it's a rough sketch, and it tells me what my smiley face looks like. Now we can clearly see we're going to have 2 roots. There's going to be a root over here, and there's going to be a root over there. So how do we find out those roots? Well, if you realize the roots are basically places where your smiley face or your sad face cuts the x-axis, or in other words, they are the x-intercepts, because your smiley face is intercepting that x-axis. So the y value is basically 0 at the x-axis, right? This is the y value, 0, and then this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is -1, -2, -3. So at the x-axis, y is actually equal to 0. So if you want to find the roots of this equation, all you got to do is, I'm going to make some space over here, is you get this thing and you put a 0 right over there. So this is basically going to be 0 is equal to 2x plus 2 squared minus 3. And now you can just solve for x, and you will get your 2 roots. So if I just do this for you, this is basically going to be 2x plus 2 whole squared, and this is going to be 3. And then you can send this 2 over there to the other side. So it's going to be 3 divided by 2. And then you can send the square over there to the other side. And so it's going to be plus minus. Remember, the square root becomes a plus minus. Don't forget that. So it's going to be a plus minus square root 3 over 2. And then what you can do is you can have this one thing like this. So it's going to be something like so, where you have x is equal to plus 3 by 2 minus 2. And then you're going to do it for the minus term as well. So it's going to be minus 3 by 2 minus 2. And you can just put this stuff in your calculator, and it's going to solve this for you. So it's going to be 3 by 2 minus 2. That's going to be negative 0.775, and then you can solve it again for the negative value. So it's going to be negative 3.22, and you can kind of see it makes sense. So first of all, they're both negative values, and you can clearly see that on our sketch, this is our sketch, we clearly have both of our roots are negative values. So we don't have a root anywhere on this positive side of x. So these values are definitely correct. And then there's a value which is negative 0.775. So it's not that great. So it's not that much. That this value is not that big. So it's probably this root over here. It's closer to that 0. And then this is much further away from that 0. So this is going to be this root that's far away. So this thing right over here has to be that negative 3.22 something. So you can see we just found our roots. It was really simple. All you had to do is you just had to understand that the roots are basically the x-intercepts. And at the x-intercept, the value of y is equal to 0.